Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review The Cellar. Whatever you do, don't go into the cellar.
Directed by Kevin Tenney, who also brought us Night of the Demons and the remake, starring Patrick Kilpatrick, Chris Miller, Suzanne Savoy, and Ford Rainey. This movie's about a boy who finds an ancient Comanche spirit who is formed into some kind of monster. The kid, he just wants to tell everybody, and he's like, hey, there's a monster in my basement. Come help me.
It's here. It's in the sinkhole.
And nobody believes him, so he's forced to fend for himself and try and kill the monster alone. This is a recommendation from Patreon. Coolfire Newt, who's been a supporter of the channel for a long time and a long time Patreon supporter as well, recommended this one or Cameron's Closet, and this is the one that we landed on. I don't know what you're getting us into here, but here we go. Let's move on to our likes.
I liked the creature design. It kind of resembled something that was out of The Gate or The Ghoulies.
I agree. I think the creature design was the best part of this movie, and I don't think anyone's gonna deny that. I thought it looked just like a Rancor. I liked Willie and his enthusiasm.
You got TC and you got Wart, but you're not gonna get me. I'm gonna beat you.
He was just a go-getter. This guy, he saw a monster in his basement and was like, I need to figure out ways to defeat him. There's not a ton that happens in this movie, but the moments where he was setting traps and trying to figure out a way that he could capture the monster, I think were easily the best parts. If not, Mance's weird-ass one-liners.
It secretes a substance that'll strip your baby to the bone.
That's quite a substance, Chief.
And his Sid Vicious ass doing something.
It's also just one of those funny things where like you see someone in a movie that you just recently review and then they start popping up in all the movies. Like we just saw him in Class of 1999 and now he's in The Cellar.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And usually when we watch like an 80s movie, we'll start noticing them more and more often. Even though that was only like a year apart, he looked like he aged 20 years easily. The 80s, wild time. Now we're gonna move on to our dislikes. This movie's boring as all hell. I don't know why this was recommended. Maybe as a punishment for some reason, or maybe because we were supposed to like have more fun than we did. There's not a lot to look at in the movie. The characters are not that great, and there's just nothing really happening. The monster shows up like maybe 3 or 4 times, and the rest of it is just, you know, an oil tycoon fighting with the people who just bought like a house on his land.
And when you're having a monster movie like this, to not show the monster enough, or you don't even show anyone dying. The claw just like kind of like drags one person into the sinkhole.
And a horny toad, which we found out was actually a lizard. Anyway, that being pulled under a door, it's probably the most tense moment of the entire movie.
Like there's so many situations in this film where you would want to get some kills or you want to get the monster actually attacking people. That doesn't happen at all. And Mance goes 180 all the time. At one moment he's like locking children in a kitchen where they can't escape to face the monster and then busting open the door and shooting monsters down to protect his children. Like, he can't make up his mind on these situations. So it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, Mance is a son of a bitch, by the way. He was genuinely about to abuse his wife and child, and then in a split second is like, oh, I love you guys. And he was actually going to whoop that ass.
Yeah, and like his wife grabbed a shotgun and like knocked him in the back of the head. And then she goes into the room and all of a sudden, everything's okay.
Let's ignore that we almost killed each other and just defeat the monster and drive off into the sunset. The very long 15-second shot of a sunset.
Yeah, that's another thing that was really a poor setup for this movie, is it felt like I was in one of those IMAX theaters about to watch something about like Niagara Falls, where it's like flying through the air and like the narrator's telling me this like ancient history of like the land.
Yeah, it wasn't very enticing. It didn't really pull me in.
The Comanche War Council met on this land to decide the fate of many nations and the promise of annihilation to the white man.
I know this is super cliche. Do the book scribblings that show history and flip through the pages. We've seen that in stuff like Leprechaun. That would have been better.
Yeah, we got bubbling mud, which I think was just Gak.
It probably Gak, I hope. Well, 89, I don't think Gak came out till like 93. Well, at least that's where I got really hooked on this stuff. I got hooked on the Gak boys. This movie's just not very good. There's just not a lot happening. And the things that happen are just whatever. My fucking elbow just broke in half, I think. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but it certainly sounded like I'd sharp myself. That's more entertainment than you'd get from this film.
Another big part of this story that doesn't make sense or why it even exists is TC's story. We learn that TC was like the kid who lived in this house and was aware of the Comanche spirit, yet he's selling it to the family and not letting them know of this spirit's existence. Like,
Why didn't TC tell us about
you
that?
can't take the spear out of the ground or else the Comanche is gonna like run amok all over the place. And they just like fail to tell people that. Like Mance opens up the cellar door and there's this whole world and tunnel. And he learns about this after buying the house.
Did he not ever say, what's behind the door? I'll just assume it's a fully furnished basement apartment.
The whole TC storyline was just poorly executed. That's the kind of character that's supposed to be like the crazy old man of the town who's been claiming evil spirits have been like ruining the lands for years and no one's believing him because he witnessed it as a kid. Not being the guy who's selling the house that he used to live in, fully aware that it is not a place to live in. Like,
And you know what would solve all of this? Because the Comanche spirit only rises when the spear is taken out of the ground. It was legitimately a spear for over 19 years. Just sitting in the ground. Just sitting there. Just a fucking spear. Put a gate around it. Put a plaque that says it's a monument, nobody would touch it. Some people might vandalize it. But way less people would do it. And like, so many people just walk by like, hey, there's a spear, let's pick that up.
I've put stuff outside on a lawn, strong breeze knocks it over.
Hold on. The stinger of this movie, and actually the end of this movie, suggests that the wind is the problem anyway.
Spirit of the wind is for all good things, Comanche or otherwise.
You're right.
I don't know
You're right.
why it doesn't talk about that throughout the movie. I don't know why. Maybe that is the cause. Maybe it's not taking the spear out of the ground. It's the wind through the feathers hanging off of it, and it just needs to continuously go. I don't know.
For a movie that's trying to like base it from this lore of ancient native magic, the monster's defeated in a very like generic way. We'll blow it up and everything's okay. That's not really how you defeat monsters of like ancient times.
Do you know that?
Actually,
Maybe.
a bigger disappointment is the fact that there was so much featured remote airplanes. Not once did we see that come into play.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. This movie's not very good. I wouldn't recommend it because it's super boring. It is cheesy and there are funny lines, but there's not enough, and there's not enough cool creature stuff for me to ever want you guys to watch it. And really doing nothing. Don't watch it. But I'm raising this 0.5 because I did like the practical effects and some of the traps. So I'm giving this 1 wet willy out of 5.
That monster make you wet your pants, Willie boy?
When a movie's tagline is telling you not to go into the cellar, you should really take that advice. It's not fun. The characters are just poorly developed, and the pacing of the film doesn't really lead to anything exciting. Even the final act is not like a great final act. It's more of a head scratcher that they just rush in. It's like something serious is gonna happen, so let's speed it up and blow it up. And that's the end of the film. It's nothing special, and I can see why there hasn't been a re-release on this movie, because nothing about it really stands out. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 0.5 cool dudes out of 5.
Are you a cowboy?
Well, I guess you could say I'm a dude.
A cool dude.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a cool dude, right?
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't, it's very available on YouTube, so that's where I'm leaving a link. I know, I'm really against just like piracy in general, but I've never seen it anywhere. I couldn't find it. Once again, this was recommended from Patreon. If you guys want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us on Patreon, definitely check out the links in the description. Subscribe to us also here on YouTube by clicking that red button, and bell us to find more videos.